Welcome. In today's video, I'm going to be taking you through sort of how we plan the programming that we do for classes at the training ground. So we use different modalities and ways to program depending on, I don't know, if say it's a weightlifting program, if it's a more cardio-based program for that. But this is specifically the general guidelines that we use for the classes like ground rounds and so forth and things like that. So as we go through this, just keep in mind that this is specifically our method to keep the classes that we program at a world-class level and enjoyable for both the coach and the participants that are in the class as we go through. So, and really the reason that we have these standards, and we've had back when we used to subcontract trainers and they would run their own businesses, we didn't have as much control, but what we could control was we made sure that we had really good coaches in here. Now they like to run things how they ran things. We didn't have too much control over sort of the macro scale of the programming. It was kind of whatever they wanted to whiff up. So you would get people repeating movements, working the same energy systems, things like that. And for the participants in the classes, it just wasn't the best scenario for them. Now that we work purely on employees and, as a team, and the guys are eager to learn and have the best product for the people involved, we're in much more control of it. And we have these smart program guidelines that allow our coaches to show their flavor and individuality and, I guess, put their spin on things, but within our method and role, so that the clients or the members can get accustomed to the training ground way, and everything sort of flows and works with each other, but they can still show where they shine as well at the same time. And the three ways that we keep control of this is we make sure that over an entire week that we keep even movement and energy system spread throughout the week. Now, that doesn't mean that it's got to be full body every day, or it's, push, pull, legs type vibes. It's like, it will mix up and it will be a variety, but we sit down on a Friday the week before and just triple check that next week is finalized and done, and that it makes the most amount of sense for their program moving forward and going in from there. So we say, is there a focus on each session, or is it evenly spread? And then that would be determined based on the session before, the session after, and so forth. If it's the first for the week, then they're obviously looking at the week previous and determining what the best training plan or session can be that they can go on from there. And then, in that, how does that session enhance the overall week? So these are the things that the coaches, when planning it, are thinking in their heads before they come up with their draft of a session. We take great pride in making sure that we have very efficient floor plans and class layouts. You'll notice when you participate in our classes, we don't have the largest space. Like what we can fit into 25 square meters here in our Brisbane studio is quite impeccable. And the guys that do come and use it are just like, yeah, there's so much room. Everything's well laid out. And you'll see on later slides how we do this and why. But this is really, how do we get the most out of our space? How do we capitalize on the most amount of variety as possible, but also minimizing risk of injury, like tripping over equipment and just, if there's stuff everywhere, it's hazards. So making sure we're utilizing the same pieces of equipment for multiple things and not just taking over the entire gym and being effective with that. And that then leads into the third point of effective equipment use. So, we want to make sure that in these classes that you're leaving no loose ends, that there are no weak points, and you're mastering all movements with different implements or pieces of equipment. We steer away from your generic, I don't want to, CrossFit vibes of like barbell snatches, clean and jerks, things like that. And yeah, but you will still learn how to move in those ranges of motions. And we make sure that the benefits of those things you are still getting, like making sure your shoulder can move through that range of motion, making sure that the thoracic spine can move through that range of motion, making sure you can squat to those depths and things like that. We make sure that we bulletproof your bodies by using different implements, different pieces of equipment, and just the way that we effectively program in our smart programming method. So the benefits for the participants, the members, the clients that come in and try it. So they get an excellent workout every session that promotes them to come more regularly. So we make sure that Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday all feed off of each other. You're not going to go, oh, my quads are hurting from Wednesday, so I'm going to avoid Thursday because that's going to make it even worse. No, 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 no. What is on Thursday will help any residual pains from Wednesday. But also allow you to keep progressing and going in from there. So the aim is to get you coming more regularly. And that's what we want out of any member and things like that. We want you coming as often as you possibly can. But then it also won't be a hindrance if you can't come all the time. So if you do just get like a Monday and a Friday in, there will still be the benefit of that as well. So as much as we plan for the entire week, for those that do an entire week's worth of working out, there will still be great advantage in just being able to come 1 day a week, 2 days a week, things like that. The ability not to have to think about a program. I mean, that's what we find is a big reason people sign up for these classes. They're just like, look, I've done thinking all day. I've just finished work. I just want to come in and know that you're going to put together a good program for my body, and I just have to listen to you and do it. So people love that. The overall improvement in the strength and health and minimizing risk of injury at work, doing things in everyday life, stuff like that, because they're strong, they're fit, they're ready for it. Learning how to use a wider variety of equipment. We get like a lot of your bodybuilder folks or your gym junkies that literally will see these cool movements in these classes and are like, I want to come and try them just because I see you guys doing weird stuff all the time. Not that we're throwing in weird stuff for the sake of it, but that movement specificity and the variety that we mentioned before. We will throw different angles at you. We will throw different movements so that we're making sure we're really enhancing all movements that your body can do moving forward and creating a stronger, better body. Your improved mood and energy, becoming a part of community, and much more. All of those generic health and fitness benefits that you get from working out, along with the great vibe and team that we have here. So many. The benefits can go on for days. And then in terms of programming for the coach, learn and implement your own programs. So we keep it very, other places will kind of like have a head coach and they will plan out like a 3-month phase, and the coach is just kind of like, oh, this is what we're doing. And they're coached on a coach's specific style. We like to lift the coaches up and sort of get them to show their own flair. And yes, we have these 3 guidelines, but we like to think that the guidelines that we have still keep it open enough that it gives the flexibility for the coach to showcase what they are great at, and their style and their flair and things like that while working within a team. So it gives the versatility for them to show their personal coaching style, gives flexibility for the coach to design their own class. We do meetings every Friday to help understand why we do floor plans the way we do floor plans, how to use more equipment. Maybe they've come from other gyms where all they've done is known a barbell back squat. Well, look, here's 13 other different implements that you can use for a back squat, and things like that. So we will teach a wide array of movements and really enhance that coach's exercise vocabulary, ability to utilize floor space, ability to manage and control participants, and really elevate them running classes. So managing a small group to give everyone great attention. We cap numbers at 8. So we make sure that there's never going to be an overcrowded class. That coach can always give attention where needed. We get new people coming in all the time. We get people that have been injured outside and will call up and go, done something to my knee on the weekend. I know that I can do stuff, but I've got to let you know first. So those coaches can have that attention on that person, making sure they're adjusting those sessions to the injury or the beginner that hasn't done this before, and still be watching over the guys that are fit, can control it themselves, and just keep motivating them and pushing them so it's not too out of control. And like I mentioned just before, learning other coaching styles and methods to broaden your coaching. Everyone does it different ways. Everyone prefers different styles and ways to train. So hearing and seeing what the other coaches are doing in the week helps them go, I like that. I'm going to take that on and try it. The work. So lots and lots of benefits for coaches running these classes with us as well. So moving into the 3 points that I was saying before, just giving you further detail on that. So when we're talking even movement and energy systems spread throughout the week, that really is like fundamental movement patterns. And then the biomechanics of the human body. So you've got like your squat, your lunge, your hinge, your pull, your gait, your carry, things like that. And then the biomechanics like different lever lengths, different elbow positions, and the works. So really making sure that we are managing all of those things throughout the week, managing fatigue so that we can look for improved results. I mean, Friday mornings currently have turned into Mobility Fridays, just really because we did find that we've really ramped up the cardiovascular training and getting people working in a higher intensity for the classes through there. So it's a great wind down and to reset the body, but also people have been saying that Friday at the end of the week that then sets them up for the weekend, and then they're fresh for the Monday, and they're showing heaps of improvements through there. So, but it's not set in stone. It adapts and it changes all the time to make sure your body's kept on its toes, but it's still working through, and you're not plateauing from there. Also, the focus on enhanced longevity in life. So, we don't want to just pound a 12-week block of squats just to get you really good at back lifting heavy weight on your back with a back squat. Why are we squatting? We're squatting because your knees hurt when you pick your children up. So we want to get you squatting so that you can do that on weekends and there. And a good example is this article that Brad McGregor wrote that is up on our blog on 3 tips to reduce injury risk. So if you want to go and check that, there's a little short of a video that he's doing there of a static posture appraisal, which we get all of our trainers to do in personal training sessions. And I picked out this little quote that Brad said in it, which really sums up this point on a whole. And he says, like, as we age, our bodies become less resilient. If we keep hammering away, placing our musculoskeletal system under the same stimulus for long periods of time, the body will find ways to cope with the stress, often through pathomechanics, the mechanics of misplaced or damaged bones, tendons, etc. It's very often that we're in a class and like I saw someone's hips were out the other night. I was like, "Oh, you got back pain on that right hand side?" Yes, I do. Come to the side. Let's fix that for the next 5 minutes. Then you can jump back in. So just being able to pinpoint these things because of our smaller class numbers. Whereas when you're in a class with 20 plus people and you're on stage with a microphone, you see these things as coaches that are good coaches, but they can't stop the show or the parade and go and help that person. We ensure that we're always there to enhance the longevity and life of the people in these classes, and everyone knows what's going on. And if we do see that kind of thing, we will stop the show and make sure that we're doing the best thing for you to improve your body and improve the longevity and life of your exercising and as much movement as you can. Step 2 on here. So the floor plans, which I mentioned before, I put one of the photos in here of one of our old setups, but you can see here, so we've conveniently laid the mats out. We've got the resistance bands tied up on there. We've got dumbbells next to everyone's mats just to show where to go, what to use, have your own little space and working in through there. So the Shukaki was a book that I read 4 or 5 years ago now. And it's a Japanese term on the art of shaping behavior through design. And one of the examples they used in there was that in Japan, they had problem with litter. Just through the public parks, there was just a lot of rubbish. So they were taking note how much rubbish was in these parks. On the bins, they installed a sound effect that when you dropped rubbish into it, it made a long drop noise. So I would drop this rubbish in and it would go like a fall and hitting the bottom and crashing. And then over the coming months in the parks that they installed this sound effect onto the bins, they noticed 70% improvement in the amount of rubbish that was laying around in those parks. They also caught on videotape people running around the parks picking up rubbish to put in the bins so that they could hear that sound effect again. So very, very smart of them to do that, and that then also tactically controlled the behavior of people without putting up a sign or telling them what to do. Just through the art of good design, it controlled the behavior that the people wanted to do. And that's exactly what we want to do in the class. Like, you walk into gyms and there's like, please put your dumbbells away. We don't want to have to tell people that. We don't have a space where we have to tell people that. We make sure that everything is designed for the purpose that the individual wants to do it, because everything's clean. Everything is put away properly. In the classes, they know where to go because there is a map. Where do I do this resistance band exercise? Oh, there's the resistance band laid out over there. So it's very well thought out floor plans that we all go through before the session takes place, and make sure that we methodically think out what's going to give this person the most room, what's going to give this person the most variety, and what's going to help them have the best space to do set exercises or the circuit or the workout with as much room and as much space as possible, where everyone's happy and it's working seamlessly. Cool. Then we've got effective equipment use. So yeah, like I said before, getting people to understand how to use multiple implements, multiple pieces of equipment, as technique does change a little bit from there. Like if you're doing a deadlift with a barbell or a trap bar, which you can see in the back of this photo, a little bit different. As you can see in this photo, we've got, what do we got? Resistance bands, we got slam balls, we've got a sled, we've got a trap bar, we've got battle rope, we've got the air bike. So we like to use a lot of pieces of equipment so that people are always having to think, always having to learn, always how do I coordinate this? They're really, instead of just focusing on lifting as much weight as possible, right, never used this before. What am I bracing? What am I turning on? So it's building confidence and comfort with all equipment. We want our members to, let's say they move interstate and there's not a training ground around. We want them to walk into any gym and have the confidence that, yeah, I know how to use those mace belts. Yes, I know how to do that because these coaches back at this other place in Brisbane exposed me to it and taught me how. We don't want them to go, oh no, there's no gyms around here that have kettlebells. And I don't want to join the barbell weightlifting club because I've never used that and I don't know how to. We want to make sure that we expose the people, the beginners, the intermediates, the advanced people with as much as possible, so that we know they carry the confidence to know how to use everything correctly and effectively in the future. Yeah, it alters the muscle activation and movement patterns, which I think I touched on before. Yeah, so we like to use as much as possible, but in a smart way. We don't just throw everything in for the sake of throwing everything in. We make sure we do it in a well thought out manner. So moving on to the language. So this is the one, it's obviously the best way to get it is to do it and repeatedly do it, and then you understand it. But for those, I guess, for those of you that coaches watching that are going to be planning this, just to help you with the short version here of this PowerPoint, understand the language that the training ground is expecting, but also any members that are viewing this that are understanding what the hell all of this is that's on the app and on the screen. So the coach's instructions, when you click on start workout for the day, coach's instructions is the first thing that pops up. This will be a brief summary of what you can expect. Now, we get a lot of the members like to look at this the night before, get a read, get an understanding of what they're going to be going through in the morning. I'll wake up to messages like, oh, this one looks fun, or like, I'm ready for this, or I'll get my Metcons out and all of that. So this brings a lot of excitement, and also lets you prepare, I guess, the members prepare in their heads what they're up for from there. But also it's an opportunity for the coaches we want to make sure that the coaches plan this where if something happens, the coach can't make it, or it changes last minute, the other coach knows what to do. So in here, we've got tallied out on our timer, like all the 1 to 9 buttons that will be different timers and things like that. So in these coaches' instructions saying like, hey, this is 5x5 rounds with 1 minute rest between, please press 5 on the timer, things like that. So that there is no thinking required. It's all written down there and they know exactly what's going in. And you can see here this screenshot of one of the workouts that I chose when putting this together that just runs through and explains that this is, so they're going to go through a warm up, then they'll partner up and kick off with an upper body superset, and then in the first 10 minutes, and then they'll move on to quads and glutes. So people reading that the night before are like, oh yeah, upper body, quads, glutes, workout tomorrow. Awesome. That's good, well-rounded, full body workout. But then the coaches also know what's going on as well. We also want to make sure that we understand that we're speaking to everyday people. So you don't need a sports science degree, you don't need to be a physio, you don't need to be a strength and conditioning coach to understand how programming. It's written in the words that everyone can understand. I mean, gone are the days of trying to decipher your doctor's scripts. We're personal trainers here. We understand how frustrating it is when you're like, what's that? What's that? What's that? There will be some words, obviously, that you haven't heard before. Say this is your first time coming to the gym, but we've put it in a way that, a strength and conditioning coach can come in and go, I like this. It's simple. But then also a newbie that has no idea about this world can come in and go, I understand that. I know what to do. And yeah, you can see here. So yeah, we're making sure that it's, when we are explaining what to do, it's specific, like really just the specific focus that we want you to focus on for that exercise. If there isn't really one, like skipping, it's pretty self-explanatory, skip. And then we'll put in like an alternative exercise, because you do get people that go, I don't have the coordination for that. So, okay, air skips, which is just jumping up and down, holding an invisible skipping rope as if you were skipping. That's what we chose as the alternative that day. But there could be things in there like RPE, tempo, data that needs inputting, alternate exercises. Now, some of you might be looking at those words going, I don't know what that is. Stay tuned. That's what we will go into now. So you've also got on speaking to everyday people, other than just exercise instructions, which the alternate exercise that was on the previous slide, that's that bit. If there are 2 or more exercises, then it will be a superset, and the writing will be above the video there that will explain what you're doing in this superset. This was a superset that was created for one of our workouts, and you can see here it's just explaining to do your 200 skips, and then you're going to be alternating through the kettlebell swings and the push-ups, which will be further down the page if they scroll down, and pretty much telling you that, oh, yep, 9, 8, 7, and continue decreasing. Oh, yep, then do my 200 skips at the end. Okay, cool, got it. What results am I doing? The time it takes to complete this, including rest. Okay, so yep, put a timer on. What weight am I doing? Oh, never really done this before. Okay, I'm going to use an 8-kilo kettlebell for those. All right, awesome. I'm prepared for it. So right at the top of the screen, you've got all the notes you need. You know what to do. Then you can scroll down, check that the kettlebell swings and the push-ups are there as well. Fantastic. I know what I'm doing. Let's do this. Start timer. Go. Cool. So that's why that's there through that if there's a superset. Then there's circuits as well, which I'm going to go into the difference between the two in a minute, but circuits will be laid out like this. Now, for those strength and conditioning coaches or physios or people that are looking at this and going, that's a little bit different, we just prefer this method through people always going, what on earth is an EMOM? And just having to repeat ourselves. So in this example, you can see it starts off E3M, pull and push. Now in that, there's a pull exercise, there's a push exercise. E3M means every third minute or every 3 minutes. That right now doesn't mean anything to you. So coming down into the first one, I'm going to briefly explain through this. So E3M times 4 is every third minute, 4 times. All right. RPE 8, RPE is rate of pre-exertion. So imagining 1 being, this is really easy, I don't feel like I'm doing anything. 10 being, I feel like I'm about to die, this is the hardest possible thing that I can bear. You want this to be at about an 8 RPE. So by the end of completing this, I want you to feel like, yeah, that's about an 8 out of 10. That's what RPE means, all right? So number 1, 6 Penlay rows. Number 2, max reps of dumbbell deficit push-ups, which is maximum repetitions in 30 seconds. Then you've got this 1 asterisk. What's the 1 asterisk? The 1 asterisk signals the end of that circuit. So that is everything you're doing. Now, our members know when they see the 1 asterisk, everything above that is the workout, okay? Directly underneath that is like the must-know information. So what is important in this circuit? Usually it's the results. If there is a circuit there, it means there's something to log. because the circuit will only be created if there is no movement in the metrics and there's just like a a single thing to focus on. All right. So in this one, it is reps. So results equal total push-up repetitions. So the Penley row weight doesn't really matter. Why do we do this? To stop people from going, oh, let's load this up and be as strong as possible. No, we want an RPE 8 out of 10. So I want you to load your weight that is an RPE 8, do your 6 reps, and then where I want you to push is the 30 seconds of push-ups. Now, how is this controlled? It's controlled cleverly because we're making sure you're going every 3 minutes. You're going to bust out those 6 Penley rows. Then you're going to go as hard as you can on those push-ups because you want a high rep score, because this is going to go on a leaderboard. And then you've still got 2 minutes to recover, 2-ish minutes to recover, depending on how long or when you started those push-ups. Cool. So you're going to be able to gather energy, gather your glycogen stores back, and be able to sustain that, the whole thing. From memory, people that do this, when we do get them to do this, sustain or improve their reps as we go along, which is really, really good to see because it shows they're getting adequate rest, and they're able to provide that powerful movement for 30 seconds sustainably throughout the workout. Then you've got, under the must know information, 2 asterisks. Now, our members know if they read the exercises and go, what on earth is that? Under the 2 asterisks is further information. So this is if people are brand new to this and this needs explaining on what is going on. The further information lies under the 2 asterisks, just to help them understand what is going on in the moment. So keep the pull of the Penley rows fast. Okay, yep. And do not rush the push-ups. Oh, okay. I thought I was going to go as hard as I can and really rush them. The rows are about speed. All right, good to know. And the push-ups build stamina through the greater range of motion. Yep, cool, because we're doing it from a deficit. Makes sense. Make any additional notes, i.e. how it felt, etc. You can see down the bottom there, it says add circuit note. That's where you would do that. Cool. And that explains that. That's as simple as that is. So on the circuits, you'll see the 1 asterisk. Everything above that is the workout. Everything below that is the must know information. 2 asterisks is further clarification of what the coach wants you to focus on for that circuit. And then the blue 4 reps button at the bottom there, that's what you click on to load your score in once you finish the workout and you have your score and have counted it and can put it in there. Sweet. So I mentioned before that I'll be explaining this. So when will there be a superset and when will there be a circuit? And that's really up to the trainers or the coach's discretion. To put it simply, it'll be a superset if there's varying data. So if they've got multiple exercises in there and the weights can change or the reps are arranged, let's say that in example 1, for example, which was the one we saw on the previous page, where it says 6 Penley rows, let's say that said do 6 to 10 Penley rows, then this would probably have to be a superset, because we want to know, did you do 6? Did you do 10? Did you do something in between? We want to know what you did on each of those sets. You will also want that data saved so that when you come back to this workout, you know what you did last time so that you can at least match it, or if you do better, you can look back and go, oh my God, I'm improving. So that's why you would superset. If there's varying data to input, that will help you remember the next time it comes up and go from there. If the metrics are controlled, i.e. for time, for weight, for reps, for rounds, for calories, so it's like, do this in the fastest time possible. All right, then you can turn that into a circuit. The circuit condenses the workout so you can type more information into a shorter space, instead of like on this one, on the example 1, for example, you can see the Penley row video there, but you would need to scroll. Oh, sorry, on the example 2, one, which is the superset, you can see the skipping, but you would need to scroll down to see the kettlebell swings and the push-ups. Whereas on example 1, you can see the whole workout. All right, that's popping up on there. So it condenses it so that on one screen I can view it. There's also nothing to change, so I can have that as a circuit. On example 2, it's much more spread out, but I've got all the information up there at the top. You can see the 1 asterisk thing as well. So we make sure we follow the same rules and guidelines there. Yeah, but the thing is, it's up to the coach's discretion because both example 1 and example 2 could be switched around. Like example 1, which is a circuit setup, could be a superset, because what if I want to track how many reps each individual push-up set was? So in the descriptions on the bottom of that, it would say log the reps you did in each 30-second set for push-ups. That would need to be a superset so that you can input the variable data. But the fact that it's just, we only want to know your total reps, that's why it was put as a circuit there. And then in reverse on example 2, pretty much everything you've got written up the top there could just be written out, displayed how it is in example 1, and then that would just be turned into the circuit. The reason it's not is because as you fatigue, as you work down that descending ladder, you might want to change weights. You might want to, some people go up in weight, some people go down in weight, things like that. So the data does variable, but if the coach put in there, like, these are the weights that you must do, that the variable data then has gone away and is controlled, therefore it can be displayed as a circuit. But it's completely up to the coach. So that's the answers to, do I superset, do I circuit? The answer is really, it depends. But now you know when either one comes up what to do and how to do it. You can see here on this one, this little dotty thing here. So when you are on the app, you click that. When you've done it, it turns it green to show and signal that you have completed it. So for example, let's say that you did set this up like that, but we still had the leaderboard down there in the bottom. You will still have that blue 4 reps box down below, but you might be inputting all of your 30-second push-up reps. So you would input it, you would turn those boxes green to show that you've completed those reps, and then under that, you would still have that 4 reps box so that you can load it in, and that can go to the leaderboard at the end of that workout. Every single exercise that we put in has videos that are demonstrating the exercises. It is always us in the gym demonstrating them to make sure it's how we want it demonstrated. It's what we want you guys doing. And we always set out the points of performance like this so that you can understand what's going to be going on tomorrow. Keep in mind, there will be some times, like this morning, actually, sorry, not this morning, last night, I loaded in the dumbbell pullover video, but I just noted in the description of the movement said use a plate weight. We didn't have plate weight pullovers as a filmed exercise, but we had dumbbell pullovers. So the piece of equipment we used was a little bit different to the video, but I just put that in the description. So there may be that as variances, but otherwise there will always be the equipment needed for the exercise listed first. It will have exercise cues. Now, this isn't scientifically every single biomechanical movement that the body's going to go through. This is what our coaches have found are the best cues to get members and clients into position and to do the movement as technically sound as possible. And then if you don't feel confident with that, we have alternate exercises down the bottom where you can see barbell hip thrust, because we're doing the sumo deadlifts because we're working on the glute stimulus. If you're not comfortable with the sumo deadlift, you can grab the bad bag or some sort of platform bench and turn it into a hip thrust instead. So we always make sure we offer those points on every video so that you can watch that before the class, get an understanding of what's going on, and get comfortable with everything. And then you'll also know what to ask the coach or to point out when you get to the class or when it starts. But then also, if you are a coach writing that, you're making sure that you're ensuring that they know what to do ahead of time as well. And in terms of it, that's about it. So we keep it pretty simple. We've got as little rules as possible. It's mostly making sure that we follow by those 3 standards that allow the coaches to still have enough flexibility to be able to control classes the way that they prefer to control classes and run it how they want to, but within our brand style. And then we're just making sure that we all run on the same language, which is those ones there. So it's easier for you guys to understand, but also coaches can follow in from coaches, and also coaches can jump in for coaches. So if a coach is sick or unable to attend for some reason, another one can fill in, and they know exactly what's going on because we've all been trained on the same language and we all know what we're doing. Hope that's helped a lot. I hope you've got a little bit more understanding on the fact that we don't wing workouts here at the training ground. It's very methodically planned to give you guys the best experience and the best coaching possible in our classes.